Welcome back to Cocktails and Classics. I'm Dylan. Joining me, as always, are Ben, Zach, Cam, and this week we watched Moonlight.
Wait. I thought we were going to watch La La Land.
The joke was funnier when you said it before the recording.
Doesn't matter.
I still don't get it.
Oh, well, during the 2017 Oscars, celebrating 2016, for Best Picture, they said, and the winner of Best Picture is La La Land. And they gave them the award, and then we're like, wait a second. It was actually Moonlight. They were supposed to win.
Oh, it was that year.
So then Ernest Young got in a shit ton of trouble because they fucked up. And, yeah.
Okay.
Boom.
To kick things off and get everybody in the right mood, we're going to go to this week's cocktail. If you see the movie, you might know why. It's the Sex on the Beach. A popular 80s drink. Sex on the Beach is extremely sweet, but it's 1.5 ounces of vodka, half ounce of peach schnapps, half ounce of Chambord or creme de cassis is optional. I've never had that in one. 1.5 ounces of orange juice, 1.5 ounces of cranberry juice. I feel like this is like a great intro drink. I think this was one of the first drinks I had when I turned 21.
Oh, for sure. It's so famous.
Well,
I'm
it's
pretty
'cause
sure
the name is like...
Yeah. So when we were 19, we went to the Caesars in Windsor. Because you can drink in Canada at 19. And that was, I think, one of the cocktails some of us ordered at the casino bar.
Two of you
was
ordered.
the Sex on the Beach.
The other two of us
Nice.
just ordered scotch.
I wasn't pretending. I was a 19-year-old. I still like sweet stuff. But
I wasn't pretending.
But
Joke's on you. I found out I didn't like straight scotch.
yeah, no shit. But it was good. I mean, yeah, it's a classic good cocktail.
I mean, that's life, you know? You order a drink that you've heard of a lot of times or like you think sounds cool, and then you're like, yeah, this one's not for me.
Yeah.
You know, it's going to make me seem really cool if I just order a straight scotch at a bar and I don't look like a child, and then you sip it and you go,
And then you're rinsing the whole time.
and then everyone
Making
looks
a
at you
face.
like, you fucking idiot. This kid's never
Are
had
you
a drink
good?
in his life. Shit, they know.
If you want a scotch, yeah, well scotch, here you go. Got some McNasties for you.
If you haven't had sex on the beach, the drink or the act, try it. Let us know.
Write in
us
to
know.
tell us your experience.
On Instagram at Cocktails and Classics Pod.
Dear Penthouse, cocktails and classics.
I've heard the act isn't as good, you know? There's a bunch of sand. It's coarse and it's rough and it gets everywhere.
It is something nice to dry your hand off with after, though, right?
I saw it in a movie
I
once.
think you're just gonna have a sandy palm after that.
Well, I noticed that too. I was like, oh my god, he's just rubbing it in the sand.
The water's right there, bud.
It does seem like you just, right in the water real quick.
It's like kitty litter.
Check the show notes below. Hit up the Drizzly and Casker links. Get yourself some vodka and peach schnapps delivered directly to your door so you can make sex on the beach. Let us know what you think about it. At Cocktails and Classics Pod on Instagram. You can check out Moonlight. I think it was on Hoopla, Canopy.
It's on
if you have a
Showtime.
library card. And
As
Showtime,
well.
I guess.
Yeah.
Moonlight is a 2016 drama film. Currently sits at a 7.4 out of 10 on IMDb. Directed by Barry Jenkins. Written by Barry Jenkins. Based on the story by Terrell Alvin McCraney. So it's a movie told in 3 parts. Same character, different parts of his age. According to IMDb, the top billed cast is Mahershala Ali, Naomi Harris, Trevante Adams, Alex R. Hibbert, Sharif Erb, Janelle Monáe's in there. I actually worked on a movie with the kid who plays the younger Kevin, Jaden Piner.
Younger or youngest? Or sorry.
Youngest.
Oh, yeah, I guess. Okay.
When they're 9,
Kid
I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. Moonlight is the story of a young African-American man grapples with his identity and sexuality while experiencing the everyday struggles of childhood, adolescence, and burgeoning adulthood. Won 3 Oscars. Best Motion Picture of the Year. Best Performance by an Actor in a Supporting Role for Mahershala Ali. and Best Adapted Screenplay. It was nominated for Best Performance by an Actress in a Supporting Role for Naomi Harris, Best Achievement in Directing for Barry Jenkins, Cinematography, James Laxton, Best Achievement in Film Editing, and Best Achievement in Music Written for Motion Pictures. I had seen this film. I don't think anyone else had.
No.
Nope.
I actually saw this in theaters. What did you guys think of Moonlight on your first viewing?
It was a beautiful film. Like, honestly, it was, I've never really seen anything like it. It's cool to see a unique, authentic experience being told like this movie tells it. I feel like it kind of like helps to like break stereotypes, show that like there's more going on behind the scenes of people's lives than like might initially lead on. The positive influence of like certain like role models in people's lives, whether that be their blood family or their chosen family. I don't know. I think there's a lot of good stuff here for sure.
This was a movie I was surprised that I didn't mind the fact that there was little actual like plot to it. You know what I mean? Like there's not actually, I mean, the story is just kind of like a view at someone's life in like 3 separate times. Like that's it.
It's a character study.
Yeah. Yeah, there's no like, this is the event that happens, or this is, X, Y, or Z of the story. It's like, no, this is just about this young black man's life and his struggle fitting into his community as a member of the LGBTQ community. I was gonna say community, and that sounded too. that sounded non-ish, and I didn't like it.
I don't think the community would have appreciated that. I feel like you just gotta go with the name of it. Not too much wiggle room in people's names.
It's mainly like 3, like I guess, like big events in someone's life. Like it's not necessarily like there's a huge plot, but each act as it goes from like different ages is like this like one event that kind of shaped them and molded them into who he is today. Because it's like in the first act, Little meets what is his Juan, I think, is his character's name.
Yeah.
And like how he inspires him, and kind of actually becomes somewhat of a father figure.
Yeah.
And then act 2 is like we finally get this moment of like the whole, I don't know, first 30-40 minutes of the movie, like everyone is like harassing Little or Chiron because he's gay, but he doesn't necessarily, I feel like, know that.
Yeah.
Because like the last scene in the first act is like he's asking Juan like what is a bruh? I'm gonna say it because it's used in the movie, and he's like, well, that's a term they use to like belittle gay men. He's like, oh, well, do you deal drugs? Yeah. Does my mom do drugs? Yeah. And then he just leaves. We don't really get closure on that per se until later on. And then in the second act, we get, he's Chiron in the second act, but he comes to terms a little bit with his sexuality slightly. Like he has like this first experience with Kevin, and that's very shaping. And then he gets in the fight. And then the last one is basically like him re-meeting with Kevin, and then this interaction with his mother, that are these like big, like kind of life-altering events, I would say.
Oh yeah.
While minuscule they seem in like grandeur, they are very like life-altering events.
Yeah, I feel like the overarching, I feel like the overarching theme of this movie is just like heartbreak, like as the viewer. Yeah, I feel like you're just constantly like, man, this poor kid, this poor guy, like he just constantly is like let down by everybody, except for the 2 people, he happens to meet on happenstance, but one of them dies, at some point. We don't know how or when specifically. But yeah, just like, the only supportive like male role model in his life dies. And everybody else just kind of treats him like shit and doesn't, and he's trying to find his place and trying to just I don't know. It was just very sad. You know, the whole story arc is very sad. I mean, it comes to a somewhat like good
Happy-ish.
decent ending.
Yeah.
You know, I guess.
Yeah.
Maybe you hope, but
We
Yeah.
don't necessarily get closure.
It gives you some glimpse of positivity at the end, but yeah, I think that's kind of the same thing too of like the whole kind of part of his teenage story with everything going on with Kevin is you kind of get like the situation where, you know, what happens with Kevin kind of like assaulting him, but at the same time you feel bad because you know that if Kevin doesn't, feels like he's going to be either ostracized or beaten or targeted, and it's just one of those things where it's like, yeah, you feel bad, like you also aren't meant to be like, you know, feel sympathetic towards Kevin, but you still kind of do because of the fact that, you know, he's kind of between a rock and a hard place where, like, that's why after like the first punch he's just like, stay down, don't get up.
Yeah.
Hoping that maybe if he just stays down, then they'll just kind of let him go.
also that's some real shit that they all beat him up and nothing happened to them because he was like, no, I'm not pressing charges. And then he hits him over the back of the head with a chair and he goes to jail. The hell?
Yeah.
Two wrongs don't make
That
it
was
right, but my God.
But that was a total badass moment when he cracks that chair over the kid.
That was sick.
Yeah.
You're just like waiting for something to happen because it's like that intense like follow through the whole school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he like storms into class. You're like, all right, okay. Grabs the chair. You're like, oh fuck.
Yeah, I thought for a second he was just gonna sit down, and then the camera like keeps panning, and he's got a chair. Like, oh my God, not the steel chair!
By God, I
Off the
swear
top
that
ropes.
man is
It's
broken in
Chiron.
half.
So this actually happened in 7th grade in my home learning class or whatever. They separated
Home
lunches by
economics?
having this bullshit 30-minute class. So I was in my bullshit 30-minute class, and this kid comes in, and I knew that this other kid was always bullying him. The dude walks to the back of the class, picks up, and it was one of the chair desk combos, you know, where it had like
Holy
the wrap
shit.
around. Threw it at the kid's head. Like
Oh my
10,
God,
15 feet away tops.
shit.
Overhead, threw it. Hits the kid in the head, but he was fine, honestly. He got up and was ready to fight. The teacher
That's
separated
surprising.
them. But yeah, that was,
I feel like that could
was
cause
something.
actual brain injury or neck injury.
oh yeah.
Also, how did he throw a desk chair? Like
He
a
picked it up,
whole
overhead threw it.
There was a teacher in our school that did it. He got really pissed off that kids kept sleeping through his class, so then he threw a desk chair, one of those desk chair combos across his classroom.
Yeah, you go
Yeah.
like left arm on desk, right arm on chair bottom.
So you guys want to hear the follow-up to what happened with this teacher? He didn't get fired for that event. No. He didn't get fired until later, when they found him in possession of child pornography.
Oof. Ouch.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, it is
Man.
good. You should go to jail for that.
You
Yeah,
definitely should go
yes,
to jail for that.
100%.
At minimum.
I agree. Yeah. That was quite a shocking turn of events to find out.
Wow, the teacher with anger issues has other issues going on too. Weird.
Zach, what did you think?
I thought it was really good. I agree with the things you guys said. I just want to add, like, this movie goes in the sad movie category of, like, Requiem for a Dream. The ones that kind of hurt to watch, but they are really good movies.
I was thinking about that as I was watching. I was like, man, I forgot how sad this movie was. Like, I knew there were parts where it was like intense, but like, I was like, damn, there's like not much room to breathe for a while. Like, I started to tear up in that scene where he's talking to Juan, like when he's a young kid, and he's like asking all these questions, and like, I mean, it is a very important movie because it's like within the black community there is a lot of like discrepancy about like LGBTQ inclusion. It's like a hot topic, I guess. Like it's something that isn't really discussed much, but it should be discussed and brought out into the like into the limelight, and I think this movie does it well, and it kind of does all those aspects because it's like early on, like Chiron is kind of like the nerdy kid he's quiet and he sticks to himself, and like everyone's like bullying him and stuff and calling him gay, and then later on in life he's like trapping and he's like this ultra masculine like guy when he's got he keeps calling them fronts, but he's got like the grill in,
Yeah.
and he's got the big like classic muscle car and stuff, and he's like, who are you? Like,
I mean, he even said it himself. When he got sent up to Atlanta, he built himself from the ground up, is what he said. Like he rebuilt himself up.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. I'll admit it. I had to Google what trapping meant.
Oh. Okay.
I mean, that's
dad.
fair.
What is the trap?
That's fair.
Well,
I mean,
because they were talking about Kevin was talking about not necessarily like dating, but like getting that girl pregnant and what was going on with his life and his kid and like relationships. And he's like, yeah, well, I went up to Atlanta and I was running with this guy and then I started trapping, and I'm just like, okay, wait, is that like a sexual thing? Like, is he like kind of coming like I had no idea.
yeah, no, that's fair.
Yeah,
I mean, I think
drugs.
I don't know if I had never heard it in that turn of phrase, like trapping. I kind of inferred that it meant what it did because of like trap houses, that kind of stuff. More context clues than actual, like I've obviously never said that word like that. Much less seen it anywhere.
So for all those people who don't know, it's okay.
I knew what trapping
okay.
was.
You can learn something from this podcast.
It means to deal drugs for those who don't know the lingo.
For the uninitiated.
I don't know. I really love a movie told in 3 parts like this, like 3 separate parts. When it's done really well, I think like this movie, it's very good because it's almost like you're seeing 3 movies, but they're all interconnected, and like each part plays out like its own little like vignette. Yep. And I like that, and it's kind of refreshing sometimes versus like more so like a movie, like a linear movie that's told with 3 acts, as far as like, oh, here's a plot point, but this one is kind of like 3 separate acts following the same character, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Did this movie? Were you expecting one thing and got something else, or did you have any expectations going in? This is for anybody.
No idea. I knew nothing about this movie. Honest to God, I rented it from Hoopla and just sort of threw it on real quick, and I thought I saw the cover, and I was like, oh, like a blue background, black guy in the cover, but his like face has got like this, I don't know, it's like a silhouette or something behind it. I was like, oh, this might be like iRobot or something. This kind of looks like Android.
Well, cover is all 3 versions of himself, past, present, like it's young, middle,
it was tiny on the little Hoopla app.
Yeah. It's all versions of himself.
Definitely not iRobot.
I did not know anything about. I mean, I knew the somewhat of the subject matter, like very broadly, but I didn't know anything about.
Yeah, because we watched this movie because it's Pride Month here in America, at least. I don't know if it encompasses the entire world. I know it's because of the Stonewall riots, at least in America, why June is the month of Pride. But so we chose this movie because it focuses on LGBTQ themes. So you knew that aspect of it, but you didn't know like what happens or anything.
I was expecting it, honestly, though, I will say, to come into like something. I was expecting it to be referenced, I guess, sooner. I don't know. Like I thought before just the end of that first part, they'd kind of get into it, and then.
I mean, they do to a sense. Like all the kids are like calling him gay, and that's why they chase him at the beginning of the thing. That's why they chase him through the cut, as they say in the movie.
Okay. Like I said, I know they like, but
Dylan's hip.
Zach gets shook.
That's why they chase him through the cut.
How
As
many
the
kids
youths are
like,
saying these
That
days.
is what they say in the movie. It's a direct
I know,
quote.
but like,
just the way Dylan says it. Like he's talking down
so
to
matter
me.
of fact, and it didn't need to be matter of fact, but it was so matter of fact that I didn't know how to take it.
I took it offensively. I was hurt by it.
That makes sense.
It
Did
was
it upset you
aggressive.
going back to your days running through the trap, Ben?
The cut.
The cut.
Sorry, trapping
cut.
through the cut, my bad.
That's not what anybody said either.
No, but you can trap in a cut, though.
You can trap in a cut.
I guess, yeah.
I don't know.
I
what
mean,
a
that's
cut
what they were
is, if I'm
doing
being
most of the movie.
honest.
They were trapping in the cut.
Is I feel like even though that's a, like they were making fun of him for being gay, is like, I feel like that was a thing in the late 90s and early 2000s that didn't matter if you were gay or not. Kids would call you gay and pick on you. So that was where I was just like, okay, like, obviously I picked up via the fact that he's the main character and it's an LGBTQ movie. They're like, hey, the main character's probably going to be gay. But I was just expecting something more like right up front of him as a kid. And honestly, I was kind of expecting more like early on in his teenage like area too. Like it kind of like it alludes to it when he's talking with Kevin outside of detention. And Kevin's like bragging about getting caught having sex, and he's just like, "Oh, yeah, okay." He's just kind of seems like not super interested, but
I couldn't tell if like Kevin was lying there.
No, I don't
Because
think
kind
so.
You don't think so?
Well, he has a kid with a woman later.
Yeah, but just the way he was like talking about it though.
Oh,
like where he's like,
I mean, he
yeah,
got
we would
detention,
just-
right?
yeah, but like I think what like he's sitting there and he's like, I was just like, yeah, I was hoping to get my dick sucked, and then she's like, oh, give me that big dick. And then she just starts like fucking moaning and shit, and then we got caught. It's like, okay, you're starting to.
He probably embellished it a little bit.
Yeah,
he probably embellished it.
starting
Why they got a compliment?
Oh man, yeah. My guess is he embellished the story a bit.
I will say I feel like the third act is kind of interesting to me because there's this scene with the mother that kind of like doesn't necessarily come out of nowhere. Like she's calling him, but like he goes and kind of like makes amends slightly with her. But then like the very last part where they like where Kevin and I guess Black he's called at that point, they like meet again. It felt very, I don't want to say formulaic, but it felt like I had something I'd seen before. Like it kind of feels like a classic.
Yeah, it's a love
like-
story.
Yeah, like a rom-com kind of
Yeah.
love story thing where it's like this old unrequited love that comes back.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But it is very like touching at times though, I will say. When he plays the song, when he's like, "Well, why'd you call me?" And he's like, "Well, the guy was playing the song." And then he like plays the song and he like looks at him and you're like, "Oh man. Damn."
Yeah. No, I mean, I think it's I understand what you're saying, that it feels familiar, but to me that is kind of the appeal, I think, and why this is so good is because it feels familiar while not being as familiar at all, because you've seen this a bunch of times with hetero couples, right? Like men, women,
Yeah.
women couples, you've seen this a bunch of times, but not a ton with this, in these circumstances with two men, or I mean even women really, but I don't know, the fact that it's able to feel like that, relatable, even if you don't feel that way, or even if you can't identify with it as much as somebody that is gay might, or what have you, that it's still like shown that way, and you can still kind of feel it and identify with it in some way.
Yeah. I'm hard pressed to think of another movie that features like two like gay black men. Cuz I feel like two like a lesbian like love story is told quite often. Maybe not at like obviously as much as
I don't know about quite often. Well, and it's I think
told often.
there's
I
also
feel like it's also typically like they tend to be very over sexualized whenever it's like a lesbian love story.
I was
Like,
gonna
oh,
say,
hey, it's two chicks. Like, okay,
that
cool,
are very
thanks, man.
stereotypical or like over the top. Like it doesn't feel genuine. Like it doesn't feel like how two real human people would
or they
interact
have to
with
make
each
it
other.
seem like one of the women in the relationship has to be like overly masculine to make up for the fact that there's not a man in the relationship, and that just a lot of the times it's just done poorly.
Right. In this movie, it feels like it is just two dudes.
Just
And
two,
there's
Just a couple of bros.
just two bros
Sitting
broing
in a
down,
hot
you know.
tub.
That's not what I meant, but it felt. I don't know. I feel like it felt real. Like it felt like I don't know. Like not tokenized in any sense of the word.
It tells a love story. That's
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Like it's a love story.
First.
It just happens to be
Yes.
a gay love story.
Exactly.
Like it's one of those, and that's not something you see very often.
It's kind of interesting to me that there's the scene on the beach, obviously, where Kevin and Chiron like have, I guess, sex, sort of. They have like their intimate moments, and earlier in the movie, Juan talks about like his time in Cuba, and he says the lady says something along the lines of like, in Moonlight, black boys look blue, and like in that scene, there like the whole scene is lit very blue, and I just kind of tying the movie together like that, I found very interesting.
Well, I mean, they even do that at like the last shot of the movie, right? When they're in Kevin's apartment,
Yeah.
and, like he kind of rests his head on the shoulder. It goes to a young Chiron, and then it's kind of him in that blue tint.
Yeah, where he looks back at the camera.
Yeah. I was expecting Mahershala Ali to be in this movie a lot more than he was.
Yeah.
That
he
is
won
the one
an-
thing that
he won-
definitely
he
caught
won
me
an
off
Oscar.
guard. I was
Won
like,
an Oscar for like 20 minutes of screen time, not even.
yeah,
maybe?
yeah. They cut to like
Elite.
the teenage years, and I'm just like, oh, cool. Like I wonder, like if we're gonna see Mahershala Ali's character like age and like become, continue kind of being a mentor in that. Like that's, I'm excited to see that. And then it was just like, nah, man, he's gone. And I'm just like, wait,
He's
what?
dead.
Why? What happened? And then
He died
I mean,
off camera. Crazy accident.
yeah, I mean it makes sense, but I was just like, wait, really? That's it? That's all he's in the movie for? Like I feel like I was expecting like
He hit you with the old Anthony Hopkins.
yes. Yes.
Steals the show, and he's only in it for like a couple minutes.
Yeah, you're just like, oh yeah, he's in that movie. Wait, he's in that movie, right? You're like, yeah, he's in that movie. All like 10 minutes he's there, but he's great in it. You're like, wait.
I don't even know if it's that long. You're talking about
Anthony
talking about-
Hopkins.
yeah,
He's
you're
only
talking
in
about
there
Silence
for
of the
like
Lambs,
5
right?
minutes.
In Silence of the Lambs, yeah, he's only
like
in like
2
5
minutes.
minutes. I'm talking
I
about
don't know.
Mahershala Ali's
Yeah.
role in this movie, where it's
The other
I
one that
just-
blows my mind, the mother's performance, Naomi Harris, is so good.
It's so good.
But I'm
yeah.
I'm reading here on the trivia that she had to shoot her entire role in 3 days
3 days
in
'Cause she was-
between the promotion for Spectre because she had
That makes
visa problems.
sense. Wow.
Yeah, yeah, that's crazy.
So they
that,
shot
like
15 years of this character's life in 3 days.
Wow.
And it's like such a big transformation for her character too, which is crazy, like that someone had to like mentally and physically prepare for that, because it's like, oh, she's like young, kind of getting into drug problems, then she's like really strung out in the teenage years, and then later on, she's like kind of dealt with some shit, and she's
Well,
it's,
she's
like,
in
very
rehab,
emotional scene.
like, yeah, at that time.
And it's like super emotional at that point. I'm the only one who had seen this film, so you're gonna get 3 fresh reviews from the Goob Squad, and then I'll give you a nostalgia rating and an updated rating on Moonlight.
Man, I mean, I thought it was that was a great movie. It's not one that I'm like rushing to like watch again, but the themes in this movie, the acting in the movie, are great. I'm gonna give it and I'm gonna give it an 8.5 out of 10. I thought it was really, really well done, and I think it's a story that I'm glad was told. So
Yeah, I had this movie. It was it was tough to rate just because of that exact same kind of thing, kind of Requiem-esque, where it's like, is the movie good? Yes. Do I want to watch it again? Not for a while. It's gonna need to be a minute before, this isn't the type of movie you just kind of pop on to sit and chill through.
you're not gonna just sit and watch it if it's on Saturday evening
Yeah.
or whatever.
Yeah.
What station is going to play this movie?
Hoopla, when you're casually strolling Hoopla.
And when I got extra credits for this month on Hoopla,
Yeah, I gave it an 8 out of 10. I thought it was really good. I like the movie with, how do I want to put this? I typically prefer movies where there's like some sort of plot or action, but like a good character study movie can also just be so good, and this was done so well. I said I feel like I was kind of given the old bait and switch with Mahershala Ali's less than 20 minutes of screen time in the movie. I'm just like, all right, cool. Wait, what? But overall, it's really good. If you haven't seen it, check it out. It's a really cool thing to see that they did, not only did they do kind of a gay love story without making it abundant that it's about a gay love story, but they also did a gay love story with two black men, and that's really cool to see. Representation like that in cinema is always fantastic. So I can definitely see why it won an Oscar for Best Picture. Check it out. Also, I just read this really cool trivia. Mahershala Ali really taught the actor who played Chiron how to swim. When they started, the actor Alex Hibbert did not know how to swim.
Wow.
Interesting.
That's kind of cool.
So,
I wonder if that scene was like genuine, if it actually happened then, or if it was like.
yeah, I think it says on IMDb, when Juan teaches Little how to swim, Mahershala Ali's really teaching Alex Hibbert how to swim.
Wow. Okay.
When
That's
production started, he didn't know how.
I like this movie a lot. It is in the camp of a Requiem for a Dream, where it's kind of sad that you won't just throw it on all the time unless I'm strolling through my Hoopla.
You need a little refresh after watching it.
You need to get up, take a walk. But you guys are right. It's a story that needs to be told, and I think that the way that they tell it is awesome. I love the 3 chapters, and I love that this movie is driven like less by the dialogue and more by the non-dialogue communication in the scenes. You don't get that a whole lot. I'm gonna give this movie a 9 out of 10. I really liked it.
Going in, I had given this movie an 8 out of 10. And it's infamous for like the kerfuffle at the Oscars and all that, but I do think this movie deserves the Best Picture of that year. It's beautifully shot. It's a beautiful story. It's so well acted, even by the kids. Like, child actors are hard to work with, and for these kids to like give you this emotional performance, even without saying words, I feel like Chiron as a child like doesn't say much. He has quite a small amount of dialogue, and in those few lines he does say, it's such a intense scene. Talking about the one at the dinner table where he's asking all these questions to Juan. Like I said, I love the 3-act story, and just the way the story is refreshing and familiar at the same time is really well done. I'm actually gonna bump it up to a 9 out of 10. I think it's one of the best movies of like recent years. If you enjoyed this, don't forget to rate and subscribe. Check us out on Instagram at Cocktails and Classics Pod. Check out Moonlight on Hoopla and Canopy and Showtime. And let us know what you think. Hit up the Drizzly and Cash Girl links below. Make yourself a sex on the beach. Check us out next week as we watch Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, a 2000s Chinese film. And as always, watch responsibly.